On the Jacob Buehrer Show today, I'm so happy to have on of the Luniz. Y'all have heard their big hit since 1995, if I'm correct. How are
Yep,
you doing today?
I'm good. You?
Pretty good, pretty good. And where are you calling in from today?
I am in the Bay Area, California.
Interesting. So kind of near Oakland, San Francisco, that area.
Yep.
Interesting. So before we kind of get into, I guess, some of the questions about the Loonies and how y'all got started,
Mhm.
and the big song, how did your love for music kind of grow?
Well, my father was in the R&B group called the Gap Band back in the day, and guess that's just where my music come from.
Did you ever think that you'd be creating a big song that would be heard all over? Like I got
No,
five on it. You didn't think like there'd ever be that song where people from all over have heard it. You never imagined that.
not at all, not at all. Us being from the streets, from the hood, we didn't. We had fun with music and we loved doing music back then, but we didn't know that it would be as big as it went. Not at all.
Interesting, fascinating. So how did you kind of get started? You formed it, of course, with Yuck Mouth, if I'm correct. How
Mhm.
did you two kind of form and just start producing music before the big hit I Got Five on it came out?
Well, I was doing talent shows when I was like 14, 15 years old. I won every talent show that I did. And when he finally came to our school, he said a rap to me that it was about girls with afros, and it was called Pooflacon. It was so funny. And I loved the rap so much that I ended up putting him in the group. And it went on from there.
Interesting. So what was it like when you were developing I Got Five on it? How did that kind of happen? And I gotta ask that question, because that's a song I was listening, I watched the YouTube version of it actually, not just
Uh-huh.
on Spotify. And one of the comments said this song reminds me of my brother. He's dead now, but this was his favorite song. So, big song
Mhm.
globally on Spotify alone. I think I checked 440 million listens, and that's just on
Yeah,
Spotify. So probably over a billion. Um,
hopefully.
yeah, or at least like 800, 900 million. So that's a pretty big rap song. Like that's on the level with like some of Snoop's
Yeah.
songs. So how did that song play in there, compared to
Well,
others?
we were back in the day. We were, didn't have didn't have money. We were two kids, we left our parents' house because we didn't want to live with our parents anymore. And I actually had $5, and he had $5, and we wanted to put that on a sack of weed, and that's exactly how that song came about.
So
That
that
was
story
it.
is true about it. Yeah, there's always, and I asked that because there's a lot of times I ask people and they're like, I asked somebody who had a big part in co-founding Apple, and he's like, that's false. That's not
Yeah.
true. But that part is true. Then okay, because I read
Yep.
about that. So yeah, it wasn't
Yep.
just it was about $5 in weed, but it wasn't just oh, it's like money like every song. And actually, that really is the basis of how that song happened.
Yep.
So did you kind of expect that song to go viral or no? Because at the time, you mentioned how you weren't super rich. You were two guys left your parents' house. What was that process like once it started making it on the boards?
Well, we had no idea that song was going to be that big, but we knew that we knew it was a great song. So we saved that song for 2 years before we actually put it out. We had the song for 2 years. Um, we were in the studio, and when we did the song, we were like, we have to save this until we get at least a big company that can put us out there. And that's what we did. Once we got with Virgin, it was history after that. I mean, it was good for all of us.
So what was it like after that song goes? You started touring more, I imagine. What was it kind of like playing in front of a big crowd? Yesterday was actually my first concert I ever went to, and I'm 18. I interviewed a band. They gave me a pass, so I went to the concert. And it's crazy when you're up that close because that immediate pass and you literally hear it vibrating like that. What was it like
Mm-hmm.
for you touring, being in front of, I'd imagine, probably thousands of people at times, maybe even
Yeah,
10,000? What was that
yeah.
experience like being on stage with big names and singing that song I Got Five on it? What was that experience like?
The first time that we went on a huge tour, it was tour with Jodeci. the entire Bad Boy family, Naughty by Nature, and all those people became good friends. But when it after that tour, we were doing arenas ourselves without anybody else. We were the headliners of these arenas. And one time we were in, I think it was, I want to say the Houston Astrodome. I think it's like 50 something thousand people, 55,000 people. I think that it holds something like that. And I went out on stage and I wanted them to turn all the lights out. And I wanted everybody in the crowd to put their lighters in the air. When they did that, I looked up and I saw 50 something thousand lighters lighting up the inside of the arena. That's when I knew I was famous. When
Wow.
you can control that many people, that's huge.
Did your bandmate agree, or I should say, did Yuckmouth agree to that, or was that your idea?
No, that was my idea.
So you just had a microphone in front of all these people, put the lighter up, and
yep. And we did it right before I Got Five on It comes on. You know, we do our other songs, get the crowd hyped and everything, but right before Five on It, we always like to do something big, and that was what I chose to do that night.
Interesting. And then kind of, what would you say is something, I guess, a positive side of touring, well, or as well as a negative side? I think that's an interesting thing because there are some negatives, a lot of positives, of course, making money, being in front of people. What would you kind of say about that?
The positive is meeting the people, definitely. I've always loved my listeners, always. And that's the biggest part of, or the best part of being on tour. But negative, it's your health, man. You're always eating fast food. You're drinking a lot, a lot of alcohol. And if you're into the drugs thing, then it's a lot of drugs also. That's the hardest part. That's the negative part. And me, I mean, one time I wasn't getting any sleep. I'm drinking alcohol a lot. We always stand up. I mean, and I called my wife one time and I was like, I have to come home. I mean, I actually called her crying, like, I have to come home or I feel like I'm gonna die out here. So I left the tour for like 2 weeks. They put the tour off for like 2 weeks so I can go home and rest. So that's huge when it comes to your health. You have to stop sometimes.
Crazy. Wow. And then kind of, what would you say did you enjoy the most? What did you enjoy touring, being in the studio? What would you kind of say if you had to pick between all the fun parts of being, a rapper out there like that, R&B?
I would rather be traveling.
Interesting.
Yeah, I love traveling. I love going places. I love being on that bus. A lot of people don't like that bus. That bus is relaxing to me. I can sleep and everything on that bus.
Interesting, fascinating.
Go to sleep and wake up in a new state, or it's really fun.
Fascinating. And then a couple other questions I have is did you have maybe a favorite person besides your buddy that you got to perform with, at times or at different venues, at music festivals? I was at one yesterday. There's always like, tons of artists, sometimes even in different genres that you might meet. Did you kind of have a favorite person like that?
Yeah. One person, name was Shock G from Digital Underground. That was one of my best friends, man. I miss him. He passed away a couple years ago, and I used to travel with him. I traveled with him for like 5 years straight. Those touring days were better than the Luniz touring days to me. So yeah.
Wow.
Doc G, rest in peace.
Wow. Interesting. And then would you ever consider going back out on tour, or are you kind of settled down now for the most part, would you say?
No, I will always tour. Yeah, anytime.
Anytime, any place.
Yeah.
I should ask, have you ever been to Indianapolis, Indiana?
I have.
Where did you perform in Indianapolis?
I'm not sure what the venue was called, but we've been out there a lot of times.
Yeah, basketball state. If you ever stop by
Yeah.
again, you have to see IU and Purdue. Big time rivalry there. So yeah.
Yeah.
Did you play a sport growing up, anything like that? Or was it, strictly talent like you mentioned before?
I wasn't a sports guy. I was always into music, and I was in band class and all that and all stuff like that. I wasn't into sports really.
Interesting. And then kind of I got some quick fireball questions before I close out with any advice that you'd have. A fun fact about you that people might not know.
I'm a handyman, if you if you put it like that. I can do basically anything.
Wow.
I like right now I'm putting an engine in 2 different cars right now. People would have never known I could do that.
I'll be honest,
And
I wouldn't.
I also do artwork.
Wow.
I do stuff with epoxy, things like that.
Wow. Let's see. Another question I kind of got that's a quick one is let's see, favorite venue. I know you had kind of briefly talked about probably the biggest one, the Astrodome, but do you have a favorite one of all time? You know, I always ask artists this because sometimes it's like the acoustics were really good at this venue, you know.
Yeah. You know what? I won't say not. There's not one specific venue, but I will say little places, little clubs, because they're more personal with the fans. I love that. The big arenas, yeah, that's great, of course, but the little shows are much more personal to me, and I love those.
Wow. And then I'm kind of the last quick fireball question I have is let's see, best part of being a musician like that.
People love you.
People love you. Wow. Yeah. I mean, I can confirm yesterday the singer who I didn't even know at this festival, he comes over, 6 people yell, my brother makes the drum set for you. So he's like, I love that man. So he comes over to talk to them, and next thing I know, there's like 55 people, and he's there for like at least 15 minutes sounding stuff. And it's like, you know, that's what I've interviewed quite a bit of famous people. They're always like, you know, the reason why we don't talk much is because that's what happens. You know, you go from just 1 or 2 people to then there's a line of 50 before you know it. So
yeah. Me, I don't care about that. I love it. If they
you'd
want
sign
to,
anything for them, drumsticks, any of that?
yeah, definitely. I mean, one thing I will never ever do is deny someone an autograph or a picture, man. Never.
Well, if you come to Indianapolis, we'll have to get a photo.
Definitely.
For sure. Well, I appreciate you coming on Jacob Buehrer Show today. One last thing I kind of want to close with is what advice would you have?
Be you always. Never follow anyone else.
Be you. That's what you'd say.
Be you. Be you. And if people don't like you, so what? You love yourself. That's all.
And that's what I'm finding out too with high school being done. It's like all these people I might have cared about. It's 4 weeks after I graduate. I'm going to Purdue in 2 months. Where are they?
Congratulations.
They talk to me. Thank you. They don't even, it's like they don't even talk to me. Like at times, you know, I'd kind of cared what they thought about me, you know, because I've been podcasting for 2.5 years now, you know. And yeah, sometimes I've had on other artists, you know, like Lee Greenwood and country music, but I've also had on like, you know, geeky people at times, astronauts, and not everybody's interested in that. So I'd be like, do people like that or not? Or do they like when I have politicians on? But like you said, be yourself. So I think that's very good advice.
Yeah, and you to me seems like you've been doing it for longer than 2.5 years.
Wow.
You're good. You're good at it.
Thank you. Well, Lil Pump said that if he ever comes to Indianapolis, his manager said that they will stop by. So I'll put them on that.
Also.
But yeah, appreciate it. Well, thank you so much for coming on Jacob Buehrer Show. I really appreciate your advice because I think, you know, especially people my age, BU is a big thing to focus on. So thank you so much for sharing that piece of advice there. I know, well, I hope listeners listen to that part. Everyone will listen, but will they take, you know, what you said by that? So definitely.
You got to understand something. You got to understand something. You're in high school. When you get old, say when you get my age, you'll probably have 1 or 2 of those people that you know right now still in your life. Maybe not even any. So don't worry about what anybody else thinks. Do you.
For sure. Well, thank you so much for coming on Jacob Buehrer Show today. I truly appreciate it.
No problem.
And I got 5 on it.
I got 5 on it.
Thank you so much.
You have a good one. All right.
Bye.